Welcome to D&D Out Loud with Ben Riggs. Episode 80, Writing Geeky Nonfiction, a seminar from Gamehole Con with Keith Amman and Ben Riggs.
You want to start talking or should I?
Oh, you can.
Do you have a job?
You're the headliner here.
Am I? What the fudge are you talking about? That's ridiculous.
I'm the plucky comic relief.
You're starting in that role. I'll give you that. I guess I should give people 2 minutes to come in, though. I will say,
But no more.
Since I have people here and with ears open, 18 years of Dungeons & Dragons financial data has been leaked to me, and I'm going to be going over it Saturday morning at 11 a.m., I think in this very room. Nope, not this very room. Mendota, which I think is just down the hall. But if you have an interest in things like that, you might want to come. I'll tell you right now, one of the interesting things, D&D sales did not jump with the release of 5th edition in 2014. They returned to decent levels. Like $30 million a year is about what D&D has made every year in the 21st century, until 2017 when it doubled, and then doubled again just before the beginning of the pandemic. And I'm certainly fascinated by that timing. Like, why 2017? What happened in was it Stranger Things in 2016? Maybe it was, I don't know. And again, I got so much data, I'm still kind of cracking through it.
I remember hearing it was like an off comment in an interview, and the interviewer didn't even follow up on it really, which really strikes me as odd, is that in 2019, I remember a marketing person for D&D saying, or somebody saying, according to our marketing department, more people have learned how to play D&D on YouTube than have learned to play by somebody else teaching them.
Probably
so
true.
So what I'm wondering is if there's a connection to that growth in D&D at that point, and the YouTube D&D ecology becoming mature and like people really grabbing on.
There certainly is.
I wish I had YouTube data for that.
Yeah, and I mean, like a lot of that data is available because like you can see how many views something got.
Right.
And there certainly is a connection between YouTube being instructions for D&D, but I'm still stuck on like why 2017. Like it's not like Critical Role started then. Like Gen Con started to have an attendance bout in. Sorry, Gen Con started to have an attendance bounce. That's the word I'm trying to say. In 2011, which is significantly before all of this. So what was it about 2017 that drove people to D&D? And I don't have an answer yet, but I got a lot of data. So you'll be the smartest person in your room when you go home if you come to this seminar. Do you want to plug anything before we begin when people's attention is at its peak?
I'll plug at appropriate moments.
Okay. So who the hell are you?
I am Keith Amman. I began writing the blog The Monsters Know What They're Doing in 2016. That turned into a book, which turned into a series of books, the latest of which, Making Enemies, I released last week.
Holy shit. Last week?
Last week.
Is this part of a book tour?
This is sort of the book tour. This is the debut con. I will be attending a few other cons over the next 6 months to flog it, but this is the debut.
All right, I am Ben Riggs. I am the author of Slaying the Dragon: A Secret History of Dungeons & Dragons. I also have a podcast currently tentatively named D&D Out Loud with Ben Riggs, where I interview TTRPG luminaries and let them have a conversation. Luminaries like Ben Milton of Questing Beast, who's in the audience. Hi, Ben. Who's probably the most famous person actually in the room.
I don't know how we would judge that.
I'll stop being obnoxious. I'm sorry. And we are here today to talk about, I would say, nonfiction geeky writing. I guess maybe, what is the actual title here? Hello. Greetings.
It's You Should Write a Book About RPGs.
Yeah. I would agree with that title. I would tell you this kind of dovetails into what we were just talking about. There is a market like there has never been before for material about role-playing games. It's also true if you're... The equally good news is if you are going to write a role-playing game, there's a bigger market there than ever before, so you can make more money than ever before, which is just nice, even if you're not going to make millions of dollars. But there is clearly a thirst for a literature about tabletop role-playing games. I stumbled into it. I'll tell my story, then you want to... Well, I guess you just told your story, but there's got to be more there.
No. There is more there.
Okay, then I'll tell mine, and then you can tell yours. I, in 2016, was writing for Geek and Sundry. My editor was like, who wants to write an article talking about how Wizards of the Coast, it didn't always make D&D, and it was made in Wisconsin. And my friend Rob Wieland tossed my name to the editor, and the editor was like, Ben, you're in Wisconsin and know a bunch of former TSR people. You write the article. So I wrote one article, which became 3 articles, and that same editor was then like, this is too negative. There's too much negative stuff in here. We're going to have to cut some of this out. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll write a book. I'll write like a 10,000-word PDF and put it on Kickstarter, and those who care can buy it. And 10,000 words turned into 100,000 words. Perhaps most relevant to this discussion, it was once I had written 100,000 words plus, call it another 25K, once I'd written all of that, there was a very long trying to get an agent process, because it certainly seemed like nobody in New York understood what was happening in the gaming community and understood that this was becoming popular culture, not a niche in some way. So it was like I had publishers interested before I had agents interested. And I would go to agents and be like, I have a publisher who's interested. I would love it if a professional would negotiate with them, and they'd be like, nah. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And finally, it was a person I knew, one of the people I'd interviewed for the book, who connected me with a publisher. The publisher then bought the book, published it. It did very well. I'm going to say I've sold, I haven't inked the contract yet, but a verbal deal has occurred for a book 2. They gave me an 80% increase in my advance because book 1 did so well. And if you go and talk to, kind of your bog standard fiction writers, these are not the stories that they are telling. Even fiction writers with like a YouTube channel or some kind of an audience outside of that, they will oftentimes sit down and tell stories of like, well, like I got, like a $10,000 advance for my first book, but then they cut it in half for my second book because it just didn't do as well. And then, book 3, they're only releasing digitally. They're not even going to do a print run of it because meanwhile, like, I went to Brandon Sanderson's convention out in Salt Lake City with my literary agency. They had a booth there because Brandon Sanderson is also represented by that literary agency, and because I am Ben Riggs and he is Brandon Sanderson, my name is right above his on the website. Thrilling. I have a standard seminar I give about the history of Dungeons & Dragons. I go to Utah, I give the seminar. It's in a room with 300 people. I then go downstairs to the booth. I'm selling my book. Not only do we sell out of the book at the convention, but like people will stop by and buy like 8 copies. Like, it's not like they come and get 1 or 2. Like, a guy came and bought 8 copies, then came back to buy another one because he forgot to buy one for himself. And, I think I'm a good writer. I think I'm a good researcher. I think I'm good at my job. But I also think that the reason that is happening is there is an audience groundswell. There is demand for this content. People want to hear stories about role-playing games. They want to hear stories about geek culture. And it is not a thing that is it's not a thing that is fully recognized by again, the powers that be in New York or Los Angeles or what have you. I will throw out one more number and then please tell your story. The last time I checked, which was a few years ago, the first D&D cookbook sold 200,000 copies. The D&D cookbook sold 200,000 copies. It is a New York Times bestseller. All the guys who worked on it get to say that they are New York Times best-selling authors for the D&D cookbook. And that, to me, speaks volumes about the demand, which hopefully we will inspire you to fill.
I want to piggyback on one thing you just said about the difficulty of selling this genre, because it really is. Publishers and agents alike love to think in genres. They like to think in very neat pigeonholes, because that tells them, in their minds,
How to sell it,
who they can sell it to, how large they believe that market is. And if you are writing something that doesn't fit into those neat categories, you're going to have a much harder time selling it, and you're going to have a much harder time finding representation. I got very lucky at several points along the way. I had been writing the blog, The Monsters Know What They're Doing, for a couple of years. I had already seen some real audience growth, because there were several subreddits on Reddit that had locked onto it and started hyping it up. And I began to realize, get from both feedback and looking at my audience numbers and where they were coming from, which was very predominantly Reddit, that people were beginning to use it as a reference source, which I thought was pretty cool. It inspired me to write more in that direction, making sure that I was giving people something that they could use. I would say something they could use at the table, but really what I'm doing with that blog is giving people something they can use during prep, so that they come to the table already prepared with it. Because that is running D&D sessions, and in particular D&D combat encounters, entails a lot of cognitive load. You're keeping track of a lot of moving parts at once. So the fewer decisions that you have to make for yourself during the session, the better. If you come with some rules already prepared that you can just kind of follow mechanically for yourself, doesn't mean they don't make sense. It just means you thought it through beforehand, prepared yourself, and now you can just say, I foresaw this is what I do, and it goes more smoothly, and you lose track of fewer things. So after a couple of years of writing the blog, I got an email from a guy who said, I am an editor. I work for a publishing company in New York, imprint of one of the big five. I read your blog. I love it. Have you thought of turning it into a book? First thing I thought was, I'm being scammed or pranked. I did a fair amount of research. I am an ex-journalist, so I knew some of the places to look to verify that I was in fact being contacted by a real person who was a real editor. Turned out he was. So I replied to him and said, yeah, I thought about it. I decided against it because I don't want Wizards of the Coast to sue me. But I have this other book over here that I've been selling as a self-published ebook that I would love to be able to turn into something for the market. He wrote back, that's great. That might be interesting. What we want is the monsters know what they're doing. And I hemmed and hawed and asked everybody around me. I contacted a lawyer. By the way, rule number 1, have a good IP lawyer. There are tons out there, and they are worth their weight in gold. That's number 1. There will be other numbers that follow. In any event, long story short, I had to be dragged kicking and screaming into success. But finally, despite all my efforts, The Monsters Know What They're Doing got published and was very successful. And I've gone on to write several other books since then and have them published even. I did not begin with an agent. Because the thing is, the way it generally works is you need the agent to make the publishers pay attention to you. But I already had a publisher paying attention to me. So I thought, why should I give up 15% of this sweet, sweet pittance to get something I've already got? So I did not have an agent until last year. Or was it this year? It may actually have been this year. I think last year I started looking, and this year I actually established a relationship with an agent.
We're same agency, right?
Same agency, yeah. Different agents, but same agency.
Jabberwocky Literary Agency.
Which also publishes Erin M. Evans's. They also represent Erin M. Evans in her Books of the Usurper series, which is really fantastic. Check it out. Great fantasy. Anyway, so I did pretty much all my own negotiation for all of these contracts, but I did have something else in my corner besides my lawyer, which is thing number 2, join the Authors Guild. Because the Authors Guild has for members a boilerplate book publishing contract. It's not really the industry standard. It's what the Authors Guild believes the industry standard should be. It follows the same pattern, the same format of a standard book industry publishing contract, but it contains terms more favorable to the author. So this is something that I independently was able to compare with the publishing agreement that I was offered and say, can we change this? Can we change this? Can we change this? Can we change this? I got about a third of the things I asked for, which is actually pretty good, considering that this is a Big Five publishing company and I am but an ant. One significant thing, and I think this is something that traditional publishing really has over independent or game world publishing or trying to do something like the Dungeon Masters Guild, what have you. The standard royalty rates for hardcover books are 10% of list for your first 5,000 copies, 12.5% for your next 5,000 copies, and if you surpass 10,000 copies, you get 15% of list per book. Some authors, like I know James D'Amato, has managed to negotiate higher than that. I never have. But the thing is, if you get an advance of X dollars, they pay you that up front, and then you don't receive any royalties until you've earned X dollars worth of royalties. After that, you start getting paid royalties, which means, a low advance might not feel that great, but if you are untried, and if you then go on to sell quite a lot of copies, the money starts coming in sooner and more steadily, which is nice. And those percentages might seem really low. Like you think, well, even the Dungeon Masters Guild pays 50%. What the hell? I have a number of products on the Dungeon Masters Guild, and my lifetime sales on the DM's Guild are less than 2 weeks of my hardcover sales. Trade publishers have marketing and distribution reach that game companies and independent publishers can only dream of. I mean, really, if you want to sell the kind of numbers that you will sell with a trade publisher, you have to either have like a Monty Cook / Brandon Sanderson grade Kickstarter, or some other rocket engine you're lighting underneath yourself, because you're generally not going to get that building yourself up through something like the DM's Guild or self-publishing. So trade publishing, if you can get in, is is really a nice deal despite those low percentage numbers. That being said, it's really hard to get in and getting harder. As far as finding an agent goes, I looked at a lot of different agents. I looked at a website that was just a massive directory of agents and what they were all looking for, whether they're open to queries, and so on and so forth. What genres they would accept. That's a big gate to get through right there, because if they say they accept XYZ genres, they mean it. They don't want you to send them anything else, and it will go straight into the trash if it doesn't fit those genres. And so you have to be able to fit in one of their pigeonholes, or you have to know somebody. So this is another place in which being a member of the Authors Guild really helped me. The Chicago chapter of the Authors Guild had a Zoom seminar, Ask an Agent, and they had a successful literary agent on. I attended that. When they opened it up to questions and answers, I said, listen, here's my situation. I have 4 books that have all earned out. That's industry terminology for you sold more than they advanced you. Okay, you earned more royalties.
You're making money now.
Yeah, you're making money. You earn more royalties than they advanced you is the more correct way to say it. And all my books have earned out, but I'm starting to have communication problems with my publisher. I'm having less of a sense that they are interested in continuing to publish me. I think I should be getting at this point higher royalties than I'm getting. So I think I need an agent, but I don't fit neatly into any genre. How can I find someone? And the agent said, wow, that's a really difficult problem. I don't know how to answer it right now. Phone me tomorrow and I'll talk to you about it. So I did. Phoned her up the next day. Very nice conversation. She told me she gave me the name of someone she knew at Jabberwocky and said, contact this person and use my name. So I did, and that is how I got in the door at Jabberwocky. And it just so happens that my agent, Brady McReynolds, is a D&D player. And so, once the agency was aware of me and realized that I was a pretty good bet, then they give me to the guy in the office who understands D&D and knows how to talk about it. And suffice it to say that the deal I'm getting on the next book, which you heard it first here, is the revised edition of The Monsters Know What They're Doing for the 2025 Monster Manual, will be coming out July 21st, 2026. And Brady got me a decent deal for it.
Wow.
After several rounds of wrangling.
Wow. Well, let's see. Should we see where people are and then figure out what to say next? So let me just survey. Other than the brilliant Ben Milton, is anyone here like, I'm already producing content in some way, shape, or form in the geeky sphere, be it a podcast, blog, YouTube channel, TikTok. Okay, we got one person handful of people already doing stuff. Raise your hand if you are mostly interested in writing a book in some way, shape, or form. Okay, most of you. Okay, and is that your friend in the back there, behind the guy you were eating pizza with before?
Oh, Joe?
Yeah. Is he your pal?
I'm working at Ghostfire Games.
Oh, you work at Ghostfire Games.
Yeah.
So are you just here rubbernecking, or do you have an agenda?
I have no agenda.
Okay.
It's always been writing books has been a fun pipe dream of mine in the future, so I always like to just...
Then I'm going to say a few things bouncing off what Keith said that I think will suit this audience. My number one thing would be, I'm numbering things too. We're going to I guess my number one thing
Number
makes
the
this thing
world.
this is thing 3 for the seminar because you
All
had
right,
2.
sure.
So this is thing 3 for everyone.
It's like a PowerPoint without the PowerPoint.
It's an improvisational PowerPoint. For the love of God,
Which is the best kind of PowerPoint.
Don't wait for permission from anyone and just start doing what you want to do. If you want to write a book on dungeon design, please just start writing it. And I would highly recommend you start a blog or something where you're like reading it aloud. But whatever you're doing, don't wait for someone to give you permission or start giving you money. And I highly recommend you start getting it in front of an audience sooner rather than later.
Yeah. The first and most essential part of being a writer is writing. Do it. Write it, you know? Don't wait for someone to say, I'd read that. Don't wait for someone to say, I'll buy that. Just find yourself a way to get your words out there and then start typing them in. You know, I started the blog because I was unemployed, frankly, and feeling the need to get back into writing as a regular practice. I was a language professional for 10 years. I worked in daily and weekly newspapers, did news feature and opinion writing, copy editing, lots and lots of copy editing, which, by the way, is a rare skill these days that you almost cannot get paid for. So if you are writing and you know a copy editor, treat them like your precious babies, because if you know they will really up your game. But yeah, just write. If you're not writing, what are you doing?
Point 4 for the seminar, I would say, would be call it the Ken of Keith, the Keen of Keith, perhaps. But flaws and gaps are opportunities. You look at the monster manual and you're like, well, great, these are stats and they have little descriptions and stuff, but what the hell do I actually do with this? Mm-hmm. And someone had the great idea, the brilliant idea, one might say, of starting a blog, and then that turned into a whole book, and then a whole series of books that sell exponentially more than mine. You know, it'd be one thing to look at that monster manual and think, they should have given you some advice, but, you know, Keith stepped up and did something about it. To his and our benefit. It's a thing I hear from game designers a lot too. I am not a game designer, and my attempts in the realm have been at best feeble. But I talk to a crap ton of game designers, and a thing I hear all the time is, I looked at these rules and I saw a flaw, so I decided to try and fix them, or inspired this or that thing in my development. And it's amazing how often I will hear that is, a game designer bounces off a problem in another rule set and it drives them forward in some way. So if you are out there and you are thinking, man, you know what I hated about Ben Riggs's book? It was this. Most people would say that I call it Gary Gygax's St. Gary. But, you know, whatever you hate about my book, let it drive you forward.
I would say it's that you start multi-sentence quotes in the middle of a sentence. But that's copy editor me talking.
Mine is a breezier, more conversational tone, Mr. Amman. That was a good one. I've never heard that before. You're the first. That's amazing. I love it. I bet I'm blushing. Should we say anything else, or should we just take questions? We talked for a half hour. That was pretty good.
I can keep going, but... No, but please, ask questions.
Talk for 5 more minutes then. Do 5
talk
more
for
minutes.
5 more minutes? Okay. Let's see. Now, a moment ago, I was thinking of something I could talk about for 5 more minutes, and now I forgot. Oh, actually, yes. No. After getting agents and publishers to pay attention to you, the hardest thing you're going to find right now is self-promotion. Because trade publishers are great for distribution. They are great at paying you on time. What they are not great at these days is marketing. And it's mainly because they are taking their marketing resources and devoting them to their most reliably popular authors. And people who are not those authors are often going to struggle to get marketing resources. I kind of lucked out with making enemies this time around because I got a really good publicist. Now, there's a difference between publicity and marketing in book sales. Publicity is anything they can get you for free. Marketing is anything they have to pay for. Okay, so if they can schedule you a podcast interview or a book signing, that's publicity. If they have to buy an ad campaign, that's marketing. So some people may have seen me handing out little laminated cards promoting making enemies today. That was a marketing thing. That was something that the publisher actually paid to have printed. But mostly this time around, I've been writing on publicity. One of the best things you could have done for both marketing and publicity in 2017 was to have an active Twitter account and a lot of followers in the tabletop role-playing game community. That doesn't work anymore. Everything fragmented. When Elon Musk bought Twitter, everything fragmented. People didn't know where to go. Some people stayed behind on Twitter and stuck it out as long as they could. A tiny number of us went to Mastodon. A much, much larger number of us took one look at Mastodon and said, nope, 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 and never considered it again. Some of them eventually showed up on Blue Sky, but not all of them. Some of them probably went to Discord and now are in little private groups where they only talk to each other. Some people went to TikTok and have had great success with that. That looks like it's about to be disrupted in ways similar to what happened to Twitter. There is no one reliable channel anymore by which you're going to reach everybody. I dare say probably either Blue Sky or maybe YouTube is the best bet. But if you're going to do YouTube, you got to have a video setup. That requires upfront investment. You got to have a good microphone. You got to build yourself a set in your little home that actually looks like a set. I guess you can make do with a green screen, but the thing is, green screens are freaking big. Have you ever actually set up a green screen? They're wide, man, and they have to be a certain distance behind you. And if you don't have room in your office for a green screen, forget that plan.
I guess I would quibble in that, yeah. So, well, Ben, what do you think? But again, you have how many hundreds of thousands of subscribers on YouTube?
I have 112.
112, okay.
There's YouTubers way bigger than me.
There are, but I will continue to embarrass you in this room. But so, do you think that someone starting out on YouTube, though, needs to drop $2K on equipment?
The most important thing is good sound quality.
Good sound quality.
Your camera should look terrible, but you can get away with not so great video quality as long as you sound good. If you sound terrible, people will just turn it off.
Yeah.
But it's not just the hardware, right? It's also the editing software.
There's that. I use DaVinci Resolve,
okay,
which is Hollywood industry level editing software, and I use it to just make cuts and stick things together. It's free. So editing software is free. Nice microphones, $100, maybe a little bit more. But if you have that and you have a good webcam, you're pretty good. You need to have the background should look okay. But who's that guy? Matt Colville. He just set up a webcam and just filmed himself talking in his bedroom, right? And he was just getting hundreds of thousands of views. So a lot of it is, I think, is primarily for content. But YouTube has such everyone in the world watches YouTube, billions of people, and it's the only website like it, really.
But here's the big question: does YouTube move books? That's the question. And I think that's an unanswered question at this point. I don't think you can say definitively one way or the other.
I would say briefly that again, my podcast is literally a percent of Ben's, but still I've started getting emails from people that are oh, you have a book too, which kind of blows my mind because I had assumed that like it was book first, and then I've got this like social media YouTube presence second. But the fact that people are finding me on YouTube saying, "Holy cow, you have a book," and usually then they seem to go and buy it because I kind of follow up with them, and I feel like my channel and my book dovetail together nicely. So again, I certainly don't have any numbers for you, but I would anecdotally say it seems to be powerful. And I was surprised by my last royalty check. Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe it's just the rising tide continuing up. A couple of years ago, I was like, I think it's over. I think the golden age is over. I was clearly wrong. I should probably write an article saying that so everyone on the internet can stomp on my face. And I love that you called Matt Colville that guy because he's blocked me on Twitter. Anyway, we walked over you.
No worries.
I'll continue to politely disagree.
That it's unanswered, or that it's...
I guess it is unanswered, but I have some anecdotal, what is that? Inductive evidence that it for me it has sold some books. Maybe only a few, but some.
I know just from the YouTube space, I know quite a few YouTubers. Anyone who has a YouTube channel of like 50,000 or greater, even some that are much smaller than that, virtually all of them have written a D&D book of some kind because it makes so much more money than YouTube ad revenue. And a lot of them have run Kickstarters with hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I guess you could say that in the hands of someone like Matt Colville, YouTube powers Kickstarters, and Kickstarters move books.
Yeah.
But that's a different paradigm.
And if you were going to be a real ankle biter here, you might point out Matt Colville only translated 10% of his subscribers to Kickstarter backers. But I'm not going to be that guy.
Or you could look at the number of digits after the dollar sign. I mean...
I'm just being a jerk now. I'm sorry.
All right, questions?
I kind of want to piggyback off like the YouTube thing. How important would like a camera be? Like I know having like a face out there for people to recognize would be fairly important. Like I think about my favorite D&D podcast, and if you were to say any of the people who are on it, I would think about like their characters and not their faces.
I mean, I have my setup is akin to Ben Milton's in that like my camera is not super great. Like other people make fun of me, but I have a good microphone. I did a podcast before this for 12 years. The audio quality should be good. So again, I would concur with you on that. But did that answer your question?
I don't think so.
Sound is more important than camera. How's that?
There you go.
Just look up webcams and buy the nicest one. It'll be like $70, and that's as long as your lighting is fairly good, it'll be fine.
There's a lot of YouTube channels and other genres that are huge, like millions of followers, and they use their iPhone.
Yeah. Even like live streamers on Twitch too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at the way most people consume the media, or a lot of people do, they'll be doing something else. And so it's what you can listen to, not what you're actually watching.
I mean, I watch YouTube when I'm doing the dishes.
Yeah.
All right, but this isn't you should make a YouTube channel about D&D. So let's get back to books.
So I guess I have a question. So I'm, starting research for my own project, and do you have any advice on research how to organize stuff, how to plan things out?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Use whatever's comfortable for you. I got my start in journalism. I'm very used to just typing all my notes in Word, and then writing everything in a different Word document. And like basically, I just sit down and I type. I don't know enough about this. I should go do some research. Go off, do research for a while, come back, start typing into the same document. I got Scrivener, which is a piece of software that is very, very popular among academic writers, screenwriters, novelists. It's got lots of very interesting features that allow you to compartmentalize information in certain ways, like keeping track of character traits, what they've done so far, scene sequences, where is the mood right now? Is it up? Is it down? Citations, tracking citations if you're doing academic stuff and have to be rigorous about that. I found it very awkward for me to use because I just didn't work that way. I dump everything into one file so I can find it with Control F. So it really is
like your whole book.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hear that and I'm like, madness.
Yeah, literally. That's how I've done it all. I have an organized mind, and so I keep the outline in my head, and so I know where in my document I'm going to find everything.
I meet the
but I don't want to put
talking about this.
But I don't want to put it in any other document, or I won't be able to find it. Or in any other window, in any other card, or whatever it is.
You are
so
expressing a deep fear of mine that I'm going to put some vital thing in the wrong document and never find it again.
What I'm saying is know how your own brain works and come up with a storage system for information that is comfortable for you to use. That is the right one for you. You can train or teach yourself to use something else, but the learning curve may be steep, and it ultimately may not be that much of an improvement for you.
I will say, Jesus Christ, is that the right question or a good question? I would tell you. So I try to interview everyone. I then have those transcribed by Happy Scribe, which is relatively inexpensive. AI does it, and then I go through and I tend to listen to all the interviews. And as I'm listening to them, I will pluck out relevant quotes. And then I tend to put those into whatever chapter I'm working. Like right now, I'm working on the Creation of 5th Edition chapter. So I have. It started out as this big mess of quotes from all these people, and now I'm like, okay, I see the themes that are emerging. Like playtesting of 5th Edition is a huge theme. So okay, now I move my playtesting quotes up here. And again, I also go and do other research. There's plenty of interviews that Crawford and Merles did. From the time, so I also go through those and I slot those in there, and then the process takes weeks to months. Then I finally sit down and I write, and those weeks to months are very trying. I feel like I'm not doing anything, but then when I sit down to write, it flows much more easily, and I seem to get good stuff out of it. But I would 100% agree with Keith that A, this is very individual. B, it's going to depend on your brain. C, what you're writing. It doesn't surprise me at all that my narrative histories of D&D have to be organized differently than your tactical combat advice. Although, my God, man, all one document and you have the outline in your head?
Yeah. Well, you know what helps?
Genius level intellect?
Maybe. But what really helps is label your sections, use headline style or use header styles on them, and then open the navigation pane. So there's your outline in a form you can see. You don't have to just imagine it.
Wow. Great question.
Yeah.
Other questions? I'm sorry, what's your name, sir?
My name?
Yeah.
It's Matt.
Matt, go ahead.
Earlier on, you started by saying there's this groundswell of demand, right? That's sort of the argument of we should all write books. What do you suppose that demand is for? Is it more in your particular niches? Are there niches next to you that you should be thinking about?
I have developed a theory of culture, which is a shotgun theory. Artists, writers, creatives of all sorts, all fire their guns, and some stuff hits and some stuff misses, and the culture at large will take what it wants or needs. And if you were to ask me the unmet need that I see, if you can figure out a way to get D&D-esque fiction into the hands of 10 to 15-year-olds, I think you will make millions and millions of dollars. Because I teach that age group. D&D has gone from being 2 to 4 kids into it to everyone, and they all want more of it. Their biggest issue seems to be time, which is very weird compared to when I was that age, but they don't seem to have any time, and they want more ways to engage with the fiction. So if you, I don't know if it's comic books, short stories, novels, what, but it seems like no publisher has the faith or vision to try and get that product to that market. They don't seem to know how to do it. And again, my answer is Scholastic book fairs. If you could get And again,
God, yeah.
you know, like manga quality, like penny dreadful style novels or something into these kids' hands. Like you make it cheap. You're not laying out a bunch on production because the demand is there, the thirst is there, and every person I've talked to in publishing about this is like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, that's ridiculous. And I'm like, I see the demand is there. And is there anyone who did that answer your question? That's my answer. What do you think? What do you think there's a groundswell for?
I honestly have no idea. I have always known that my tastes and interests are out of step with even the majority of the tabletop role-playing game industry, which, frankly, the fact that that the Monsters Know What They're Doing was successful blew my mind. Because I was thinking, why do you people want to know what I think? I'm a crank. I'm a curmudgeon here. You know, 5e24 was not made for me. 5e24 was made for the median current D&D player. And, you know, if I tried to sell my idea of the ideal D&D campaign, it would sink like a stone. So I don't think that I am necessarily the one to try to call what the next big trend is going to be. What I would say, though, is that as a writer, you shouldn't be chasing the trend anyway. You should be writing what you get passionate about. You should say, you know what, maybe nobody else cares about this, but I really care about it, so I'm going to go for it. And that passion comes through, and readers notice, and sometimes editors even notice. And I honestly, I wouldn't want to do it any other way. I wouldn't want to try to chase the market because now I don't know about other forms of publishing. Trade publishing is slow. From manuscript to publication takes between 10 and 18 months. And that doesn't count all the time you spent writing it. Okay? So by the time you get a really good idea and start writing it, maybe you're fast and it takes you 8 months to write. Maybe you're slow and it takes you 4 years to write. Then at the end of that process, you have to add on the publishing turnaround of 10 to 18 months. By the end of that, the market is not going to be anywhere near where it was when you started. So you have to be either a visionary or just doing your own thing passionately and hoping that it connects with someone. I would rather bet on the second.
Has anyone not asked a question yet that wants to before we start repeating questioners? But they've all been great questions, so.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's good.
Oh.
All right. More stories? Oh, there we go.
I guess what's your ideal D&D campaign?
I'm interested too.
That we won't like.
All right. So there was a one of the Kobold Game Master Guides, the Kobold Guide to Campaigns, I think it was, and there's an essay in it by Wolfgang Bauer about the different kinds of fantasy. I don't agree with everything in that article. Like, for example, he considers the Forgotten Realms to be lower fantasy than Eberron, which I'm not sure that's even a remotely defensible position to take. But he talks about modern fantasy, historical fantasy, modern fantasy, low fantasy, high fantasy. And within high fantasy, he just divides that into wild high fantasy, where anything goes, and anchored high fantasy, where if something is not fantastic, it basically functions like it would in the real world. So I have always been very, very partial to anchored fantasy, as I guess anyone who reads my stuff could guess. I love taking the real world principles, plugging the fantastic into them, and saying, what would the next logical outcome of this be? That's like where 80% of the fun is for me, figuring out the consequences of the fantastic. Whereas if you look at what's on the market now, 5e24 took 5e14 and sheared away the aspects of the game that made it possible to play low fantasy or anchored fantasy with it. It's all wild high fantasy now. But if you, let's say you don't want to play D&D, you can go to Pathfinder, which is all wild high fantasy. Or you could go to Daggerheart, which is wild high fantasy. Or Draw Steel, which is wild high fantasy. The lesson I take from that is that the market wants wild high fantasy, and I'm the crank. Yeah.
What do you do?
I'm not gonna look at that and say, I think there's a secret market for anchored fantasy out there. But what I might say is, you know what? Okay, this is what the market wants, but I really like anchored fantasy, so I might just go ahead and write something of mine in an anchored fantasy vein
Have you
anyway,
played Shadow Dark?
just for my own satisfaction. That's not anchored.
Okay.
That's low fantasy.
Yeah.
That's low fantasy. But anyway, so yeah, I think anchored fantasy gives you the best of both worlds, both the verisimilitude and the excitement and the wonder, the verisimilitude and the wonder. Yeah.
Can you provide some examples of anchored?
I actually think Eberron is a very good example of anchored fantasy.
Could you define it again for people?
So anchored fantasy is where you inject a lot of fantastic and magical elements, but the rest of the world behaves in the same way as the world we live in. So it follows the same natural laws, the same social psychological kinds of laws, and that sort of thing,
So Game of Thrones.
That's a pretty good example. That's borderline low fantasy, because there's very little magic in it. But yeah, I'd say
Black Company, maybe?
I'm not familiar. But although Chris Spivey's working on that, and he is actually an outstanding practitioner of anchored fantasy. If you look at like Haunted West, okay, there's an example. Haunted West. Haunted West nails it.
Could you tell people about that? Because I don't think it got the love it deserved.
Oh, it totally did not get the love it deserved. Haunted West is Chris Spivey's Weird West setting/game system. It basically lets you play fantasy in the historical West, but the actual historical West, not the cinematic historical West. So he really digs down into the multicultural history of the frontier West, and then also provides an alternative history scenario in which Reconstruction was more successful than it was in reality, which just changes some of the natures of the conflict that you're seeing out on the frontier. But I could go some more into like how that genre engages certain themes about how to exercise authority in a space where there are really no agreed upon authorities. But Haunted West is worth every pound.
We're supposed to end at 10-2 or 5-of, do you know?
I don't know. I don't know who's...
We'll go to 5-of until someone comes
right.
in to kick us out.
But there isn't anything after this.
We're the closers!
We're the closers. That means we get coffee.
We're always closing. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Do you think it's better for books to target gamers who are already playing RPGs or the more general audience? Like, 'cause it seems like if someone's already playing RPGs, they're going to be more interested in your books because your books are about how monsters behave in role-playing games. Whereas yours more focuses, it's a more general interest book that targets people who are just kind of interested in D&D. I think there's a larger market for one or the other.
I mean, I think that I got lucky in that it's a topic that could be made interesting to a broader audience, so I made the effort to make it interesting to the broader audience. So part of that is luck. So that's point one. But point two, I think you vastly outsell me.
I don't know.
Like the last time I checked, I was like, holy crap! Like again, I think you've sold exponentially. Like if you sold, you think a total of over 100,000 copies of like a single book?
Yes.
Yeah, you have.
But only one single book.
So altogether, though, you have how many books out there?
5.
Yeah, so like you have vastly out, again with 5 books, but still, and I'm not shy in talking about that. So it's interesting that like, you know, my book for the more general audience has not sold as well as his for the dedicated nerd. I would tell you that I think there are just so many dedicated nerds now, for lack of a better word, D&D fans, role players, people into geeky culture, that you can do what you did and it's going to be totally fine.
Yeah. It also depends in part, I think, on how many other people are doing what you're doing. Nobody else is doing what I'm doing. I am the sole practitioner of my art. Whereas you've got John Peterson, you've got Shannon Appelkline, and you all doing your own different variations on the same kind of thing. In a sense, you're probably dividing up an audience, although there are no doubt people who are hardcore into this kind of lore and are buying all 3 of your books.
What a good question.
Another way to think about this is in the broader book market, most authors are not earning out in any genre.
Yeah.
So if you're even earning out.
And that's with them being super stingy with the advances, too.
If you're selling 1,000 copies, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I want to say they said 95% of books don't earn out. Do you remember if that number is accurate?
It is a huge number.
Yeah.
You know, I really wish we could have gotten James D'Amato on this panel if he had been here, because he's told me some real interesting things. Now, his imprint is Andrews McMeel, which mostly publishes puzzle books. Okay, so
but they made a move towards RPGs like 5
yeah. But they are the imprint at Simon and Schuster that has always been in the games and recreation section of Barnes and Noble, right? Okay, so they were already like primed for material like his. I know he and I have compared some notes. His royalty rates are higher, but my advances are higher.
Interesting.
But he has also talked about how sales numbers that would be grand slam home runs in the game industry are perceived as kind of anemic in the trade book industry. You can sell 12,000 copies of a book. Let's say 12,000. All right. In the RPG industry, great job. That was a good run. In the trade publishing industry, that's a failure. To the people publishing the books. You know, maybe not to the author. The author's like, wow, 12,000 people bought my books, yes. But to the publisher, that's like, yeah, we may not invite you back. It's dog eat dog right now. It's not pretty.
Perfect note to end on.
Yeah. I ended on an up note, didn't I?
Well, I'm going to say go. I'm going to say go right anyway, and don't be afraid to just go around that industry, because I'll briefly tell the Kelsey Dion story, because that'll give us an uplifting turn of events. So in, I think it was 2016, her wife was like, you keep sitting down to write short stories, but all you want to do is write D&D. Why don't you just start writing D&D? She starts writing D&D adventures. The DM's Guild comes out, I think, the following year, or maybe that year. She puts an adventure up there. She puts it up there for free. All you need to do is give her your email address, and you get her adventure for free. So it flies off. And she collects all these email addresses.
Now she has a mailing list.
Yeah, exactly. She has a mailing list. And to condense some time, she then uses that mailing list to launch the Shadow Dark Kickstarter, which was a huge hit. And her most recent Kickstarter did even better. All of it outside of traditional publishing. And, she's been a huge success without having to go through any of those dog-eat-dog channels. And, if that's failure, my God, I'll take it. So thank you very much.
There we go. That was the up note we needed.